Dwarkanath. So can anybody have their phone with them? Just text me a message, because they want me to remember whatever I can and what I read from those days, because I was there by Krishna's grace. And one thing I remember is that, of course, they had curtains like we have, but Prabhupada liked the combination of rose and sandalwood incense, good quality, and he wanted it, and also sometimes frankincense. But we have those. We used to have on the altar, maybe we still do, the charcoals. And what he wanted was we put tons of frankincense and incense on those, and the whole deity room, you practically couldn't even see the deities. It was full of smoke. And then when you open the curtains, it would roll out into the temple. It's described in Krishna book, the incense wafting through. So Prabhupada liked that combination for rose and sandalwood. And he liked that moment that when the curtains opened and it flooded out into the temple room. So you don't notice, but when you come in, it's a little... Of course, there's the theories about the smoke causing cancer, but every now and then it's not so bad. Jaya Radho Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radho Madhava Kunda Vihari Vijana Balaba Girivanadari Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari Yasodanandana Vajjana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vajjana Ranjana Yamunitira Vanatari Jamunti Ravanatari Tiravanatari Jeradomarava Kundabihari Kopejana Balaba Ivanadari Yasodanandana Vajjana Ranjana Jamuna Tiravanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramhansa Priya Jigacharya Siddhanta Shishman, His Divine Grace, Avaya Chadan, Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki, Ananda Kota Vaishnavrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Shikoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Say Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Gordhan Ki, Vrindavan Dham Ki, Mathura Dham Ki, Dwarka Dham Ki, Navri Dham Ki, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Jamuna Maya Ki, Ganga Maya Ki, Tulsi Maharani Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Samveda Bhakti Vinda Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki, Sri Radha Giridhari Ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki, Gopremanande. All glories to the Sammal devotees. All glories to the Sammal devotees. All glories to the Sammal devotees. All glories to the divine lotus seat of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Krishna Svadamo Bhagate Dhamirganadi Bisaha Kalau Nasa Dashumesha Parano Kodadodita Ladana Namaskricha Naram Shaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. The Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. It is arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision to the dense darkness of the age of Kali shall get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the srimadbhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of God in Narayan, to the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of learning, Mother Saraswati, the author, Srila Vyasadeva, and my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Now we can open that window, that door, just, a couple inches. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I guess we're going bookless and via our devices. So be it. It's written for you, but what about me? Well, as long as I'm halfway through this, I might as well. So we are on 4:14:32, correcto? I hope. Why does it say 36? All right. But it is 32? Okay. So everybody's at least whatever, and that's what's on the board. You have good eyes. It's very tiny handwriting. Anyway, Nayam Arati Asad Vrito Naradeva Varasanam Yo Diyagya Patim Vishnum Vinindati Anapatrapa Nayamarati Asadvrito Naradeva Varasanam Yodiyagyapatim Vishnum Vinindati Anapatrapa Nayamarati Asadvrito Naradeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Vinindati Anapatrapa Nayam Aratiya Sadvrito Nadadeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Vinindati Anapatrapa Nayana Martisattato Nadadeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Vindati Anapatrapaha Nayam Hartyato Nadadeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Vinindati Anapatrapa Nayam Aratiya Sattvrito Naradeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Ihatha Nayam Aratiya Sattvrito Naradeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Vinnadati Anapatrapa Nayam Aratiya Satvito Nadadeva Varasanam Yodi Yagyapatim Vishnum Vinindati Anapatrapa. Nicely done. Na, never. Ayam, this man. Arati, deserves. Asatvrita, full of impious activities. Nadadeva, of the worldly king or worldly god. Varaasanam, the exalted throne. Ya, he who. Ariyagyapatim, the master of all sacrifices. Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Vinindati, insults. Anapatrapa, shameless. Translation. The saintly sages continued, this impious, impudent man does not deserve to sit on the throne at all. He is so shameless that he has even dared to insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. And we all know it didn't turn out, well, that was not a wise move. Also you say, the saintly sages continued. This impious, impudent man does not deserve to sit on the throne at all. He is so shameless that he even dared insult the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Purport. One should not at any time tolerate blasphemy and insults against Lord Vishnu or his devotees. A devotee is generally very humble and meek, and he is reluctant to pick a quarrel with anyone. Nor does he envy anyone. However, a pure devotee immediately becomes fiery with anger when he sees that Lord Vishnu or his devotee is insulted. This is the duty of a devotee. Although a devotee maintains an attitude of meekness and gentleness, it is a great fault on his part if he remains silent when the Lord or his devotee is blasphemed. Om Ganatamirandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Chakshusha Militangena Tazani Shri Gurave Namaha. There is a hold on a second. Prabhupada is our exemplar of these behaviors, how to react. What is it in the Gita? How does he walk? How do they talk? How do they So we learn from the great souls. We have to be willing to be molded. The problem in Kali Yuga is, and the problem, the mentality of the conditioned soul, is he wants everything to be molded to his desire, to his vision. It's the archetypal struggle of the jiva to bend material nature to his will. And we all know how that works out. But the devotee, and an intelligent person, he wants to be, he accepts, I'm here to be shaped, to be molded, to be changed, to learn, to grow, to give up, and to take on. That's the sign of a devotee, not that, well, Krishna consciousness is the way I think it is, and if it isn't, then I'm leaving. Well, what is the use of that? So we can learn by following the example of the Mahajans, great souls, and certainly Prabhupada fits into that category. So when Prabhupada was personally offended, he was extremely tolerant. I mean, he was offended from innocence, like Prabhupada said. In New Vrindavan, Prabhupada said, Bande Goroshi Charanaravintam. Prabhupada said, actually you're calling me a cow, but I don't take offense. So there were innocent offenses. Then there were, the fool who asked Prabhupada, can you bless me that I'll find a bona fide spiritual master, and because he wanted to take shelter of Guru Maharaji. And there's Rabindra's famous story, a historical narration, when Prabhupada, the Christian Indian professor, went off on Prabhupada. And he's in Philadelphia. Anyway, just for those who don't know, he's the one who said, I understand you're a Vaishnava, but I am a Christian, and you are following an immoral God. He is dancing with other men's wives. At which Prabhupada said, I see that you're married, because he saw the man's ring. He said, actually, sir, you are the one who was immoral. You are the one who was stealing from Krishna. What are you doing with one of Krishna's gopis? Krishna is the only enjoyer. Everyone, he's Purusha, everyone is Prakriti. So you, sir, are the immoral thief. And the guy blew a gasket because Prabhupada completely spun it around and revealed the man was the one who had the issue, not the Vaishnava. And he swore at Prabhupada, so there's a whole story. Ultimately, Brahmananda gave him the bum's rush. I think you better leave now, sir. And literally picked him up and tossed him out the door. But Prabhupada's response was, anyone know? Yes, but Prabhupada also said, I must have offended him in a previous life, and now he's come to take his revenge. So that's how a devotee sees it. I've agitated him, I've committed some offense, and now it's come full circle. Let me just take it on my head and learn tolerance and grow from it. So that's how a devotee sees when he's personally offended. He doesn't take offense. But there's that, it's in India, but Prabhupada was invited to some mela of different yogis, jnanis, swamis, all with long beards and saffron. Huh? Because they're looking at your wallet. And they were all giving the standard impersonal line. And halfway through, Prabhupada just told the devotees, start kirtan. I mean, completely against social etiquette. The guy was speaking. There was a line of others. And the devotees were like shy. Prabhupada said, start kirtan. And they immediately had kirtan until the stage was cleared. And then Prabhupada spoke. And there was some huffing and puffing and agitation on the part of the organizers of the festival. But Prabhupada said, I could not tolerate them speaking so offensively. Just couldn't tolerate it. You're cheating all these people and maligning. And Prabhupada said, no, I'm going to put a stop to it right now, regardless of social etiquette. So we can learn from these things. And there's some examples of aparat against devotees or Krishna. One is Sishupal. How did that turn out? Anyone know? Yeah. With the Sudarshan Chakra. How long did he wait? 100 times? Something like that. Can anyone think of any other examples of offenders to Krishna and from the Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita? What are some other examples? Huh? Pandra, I hadn't thought of Pandrak with his artificial forehands. Jarasandha, very good, Jarasandha. We're going to get to Ravana in a minute. Yeah, as long as you brought it up. What was Ravana's big offense? Well, we'll get to it in a second. He was actually, there were a whole series of offenses that ultimately brought him to the point, because he was a great scholar, a great devotee of Lord Shiva. But, if we have time, I'll read it later on, but from my Puranic encyclopedia, there was a whole series of precursor events that caused all these things. And we'll read it. It's quite interesting. There's a backstory why things happen. People don't just, We'll get to that in a second. Okay, I was thinking of Devarsa Muni offending Ambarish, and even though he was a great yogi, I was thinking of Daksha. How did it turn out for Daksha with his offending Shiva? He got a goat head. Maharaj Chittaketu. Yeah. Became Vritasura. So it's not Indra got all of his eyes, Originally they were something else I don't even want to mention. There was in Chaitanya Charitamrita, who was it? Gopal Chapala, or Gopal Chakravarti. What happened to him? Dravida knows. Who knows what happened to him? Yes? Huh? Yes. And what happened to him? And why? He offended Haridas, and he said, because Haridas said, Nambasa, alone, even offensively chanting, can bring one to the stage of liberation. And it was a whole argument. And he said, I'll cut off your nose if that's not true. And Haridas said, if it's not true, I'll cut off my own nose. And it's interesting, he was very fond of his nose. His nose was like a nice sesame flower. And he got leprosy. Huh? Melted away. Ultimately, he was delivered, got his nose back. But, and as far as local history, where this apartment used to be a private home. And the man used to sit out there. He was a nasty, mean drunk. Drunks and a mean drunk. And he used to say horrible, nasty things when devotee girls would walk by. You can just imagine, just foul, nasty, nasty things. And finally, he said something nasty to Kirtika, Gunagraya Maharaj's wife. And she said to him, someday you will choke on your words, because he offended so many devotees. 3 days later, he was sitting on his porch, drunk, drinking beer, eating a ham sandwich, and he choked on the ham sandwich and died right on the doorstep. Right where that apartment building is now, used to be a private home. Right on the doorstep, he choked and died. Looked just like the Christian Lounge. It was the same kind of house. And actually, we went over, and Mrs. Mosley was her name. Very nice lady, actually. We went over and to offer our condolences that you've lost your husband, and we kind of felt a little responsible. We didn't tell her that Kirtika had cursed him, but she said actually he was a horrible man. She said, I'm feeling relief. It was her own husband. He's a mean drunk. So that's one. There was another lady here, where there's now an apartment building. Used to be remember, were you here, Balaram, and those? And she used to turn up because she didn't like the kirtans. She got a speaker she put up, and she would play classical music. Like that would bother us. So, always her Sunday feast, cutting veggies to, whatever it is, Beethoven's Fifth or whatever, dun-dun-dun-dun, the eggplants were chopped up very quickly. So it was quite blissful, So, and she would, there's so many stories about her, but she called the cops on us so many times, And finally, she went completely mad. She was some kind of adjunct professor or teacher at SanDiego State. She went completely mad. The police, I don't know what had happened, but the police actually come out, Mrs. So-and-so, we know you're in there, we've got the house surrounded with spotlights and helicopter, and they hauled her off to the loony bin. So, that's a sad story, actually. But the offenses, the result of offenses, and it's not, I mention that only to say it's not in the past. And I don't want to mention names, but I'll tell you something. The result of offenses, the real problem, there's precursors, that by offenses to the devotees, one's heart becomes very hard. The symptom of a devotee's heart is it's soft. It's described in Nectar Devotion, different types of hearts. Even a steel frame heart becomes softened by the chanting. Some hearts are like butter, they melt in the right situation. But a devotee's heart, especially a pure devotee, is always like nectar flowing with sublime kindness and transcendental emotions. So, by offenses, one's heart becomes hard. And when the heart becomes hard, it's described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the different offenses to the holy name. What happens? One of the things that happens when the heart becomes hard. That we're going to get there. That's right. You're right. But it's actually a curse that one cannot take good advice. One becomes too boneheaded, stubborn, arrogant, to not be able to. What does it say? One who has his mind as his guru, has a fool as a disciple. So you can't take good advice, And one, what'd you say? You lose your taste for devotion. And we've seen that. We've seen devotees, arrogant, critical, and they were nice devotees, but somehow or other these things started, and you watch them and you got to stop. And they don't listen, they don't take good advice, and arrogant. Don't follow their spiritual master's instructions, argue about this. To bring it close to home, rail about how we should all eat mushrooms. Heart becomes hard. They lose their taste for devotional service. They can't see clearly pure devotionals, and they just fog up and off they go. Of course, ultimately Krishna will save them because of their service. But it's a very precarious, it's the mad elephant offense. You have a nice little garden and an elephant comes, stomps on the whole thing. So, I did a little looking at the shame, because it talks about, it uses in the word for word, this shameful person. There's both shameful and shameless. So shameful means full of shame. And what is shame here, according to Oxford, conscious of wrongdoing, foolish behavior, conscious of. So one becomes ashamed when one's aware of one's wrong and foolish activities. So that's shameful. But to act shamefully, to be full of, and to be shameless, doesn't mean free from shame. Shameless means, I guess it does on one hand. Shameless means that it says to be absent of your wrongness. You're not aware of it. It says brazen, bold, impudent. Definition of impudent is not showing due respect, flagrant, obviously offensive. To just be completely oblivious to the fact that you are arrogant, impudent, foolish, a dancing dog, have, fouled the air. It's just like you can imagine. That's Vena. But it also is frankly, I was thinking it's the conditioned soul's mood to be, to take for granted, to be shameless. Someone gives you millions of dollars, a doctor cures you of disease, and you're not appreciative? What kind of person is that? What do you think? To not have gratitude. What is the slok, the rhyming slok, 2 words from Vaisheshika Prabhu? The attitude of gratitude. He has another one. Someone who's not grateful is a great fool. If you're not grateful, you're a great fool. What is the first step in God realization? What does one develop a sense of? And why? First off, we realize that we're not the controller. You're not and making the sun and the moon rising. Actually, we're insignificant. Not only are we insignificant, we are, starts with a D, ends with a T, dependent. Completely dependent on the mercy of God. We can't even breathe. What do they call it? Mother Earth. Mother is suckling the child, nursing the child. Where would it be? Without the wind and the weather and the Prabhupada's classic, you can't eat nuts and bolts. Without the seed and there's a famous joke. Well, not famous, but it's kind of corny. But, according to the Bible, there was, the materialist says to God, hey, look, we can do everything you can do now. You did. We can now do it. We created matter from prebiotic soup or the singularity or whatever it is. So we don't really need you anymore. We understand the laws of physics and we can adjust them. Genetically modified food, which is, wait till people start having third eyes and, everything dies and you're depending on one strain of grains, corn. That gets screwed up, you lose corn. Oh, there's all kinds of weird stuff happening from genetically modified food. Oh, it's Monsanto is the devil personified. We have no idea what's going to happen. They're playing around with a whole... Anyway, that's another story. So, what was I going to say? So the joke is, we don't need you anymore. We can do, anything you can do, we can do better. So God says, okay, I'll hand over the wheel. But, let me just make sure, out of concern, I want to make sure things are in good hands for you, let's do a test. So I created life. I took some earth, according to the Bible, and breathed life into it. So let's see if you can do that. So the guy starts to form some earth, and God says, hey, get your own dirt. You follow? We can't do anything. So that sense of dependence, and it's not a low self-esteem, it's appreciation. So to avoid offenses, I'm thinking of the time. Remind me to tell another joke later on. There's another joke after. But and if you think about the arrogance of the thing, impudent. Here we are. God is supplying everything, maintaining everything, is in our heart lifetime after lifetime. When we were, eating beef, or when we were Jack the Ripper, or when we were a worm and stool, Krishna's been in our heart. No matter how much you've tried to, he's always trying to help us, always trying to give us good guidance, always trying to get us out of this material world so we can stop suffering and go back home, back to Godhead. He's got only our own self-interest. Anybody else would give up. Anybody else would say, you bonehead, you've got what you deserve. See you later, sucker. But not Krishna. Again and again and again. Comes again, so many incarnations, so many things. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, they don't take offense. Even you try to offend them, Jagai Madai, they don't take offense. Such merciful personalities. So, and if you think about it, saying that everything happened by chance, saying that we can create life, saying that, it's just such blind, it's like, I don't even want to say, it's like passing air in the face of God. They're so offensive. And the whole thing is permeated like that. So no wonder they can't see straight. It's completely offensive. It's the culture we live in. Consciousness is brain function. There's no soul. I mean, this culture is deeply offensive to the personality of God, who is supplying everything, and is suhridam. The hridam means, he's a friend. Suhridam sarvabhutanam. But suhridam means it's the best auspicious friend who only wishes you well. And we are deeply offensive. Our whole culture. So, and I was thinking, and we're mad at God. We're the one, oh God, why don't you do this? And God, why don't you do that? And where are you? And why don't you? We don't follow any of instructions. Anyway, there it is. You know what dumba means? It's actually dumba. Dumba is the way they pronounce, which I think is quite nice phonetically. If somebody's a dummy, if you're dumb, you're just really a bonehead. So dumba is falsely proud. So this, you have nothing to be proud about. You're just, a great fool. So, and as far as dealing with Benu, we're going to go a few minutes over, but don't worry. As far as dealing with Benu, this is actually the business of a Vaishnava. We see they did not remain silent. Truth to power. And if you look at Prabhupada, he called them all out. He called the scientists, you fool and rascal. Post-dated check. Life from chemicals, fine. I bring in the chemicals, bring a dead man back together. Oh, well, we're working on it. MIT, what's the difference between a living man and a dead man? Well, we don't know. Where's your Department of Consciousness? Well, we don't have it. Now they do actually at MIT. 40 years later, they're beginning to think, well, consciousness may be an irreducible, it may be a fact. It may be just like you have the chart. What is it called? The chart of all the elemental, what is it called? Periodic table. Periodic table. Those, they're the essential building blocks of matter. They're actually, it's not many, it's probably about 7% of the artificial intelligence guys. But there are some. There's a guy at University of Chicago, there's a guy at MIT, and they're now saying, well, we're not saying God, we're not saying soul, we're not saying anything, don't go metaphysical. We're just saying consciousness is not brain function. It is something. It's its own truth. It is an element, an essential, irreducible fact of matter, of existence, consciousness. We don't know what it is. We don't know how it works, but you got to open your heads. That's what they're saying. It's not brain function. We're not going to be able to create it. It is something. Let's look at it, which is, I think, is. And once you open that door, a whole thing opens up. So the but think about it. I mean, we don't have time to get into each one, but the politicians, Prabhupada goes after them all. They're simply exploiting the people. He goes after the so-called religious leaders, that Cardinal Danilou. You can see under the table, if you ever watch that video, watch Prabhupada's legs. What does Prabhupada's legs start to do? I mean, Prabhupada was the most tolerant, patient, controlled. But with Cardinal Danilou, you watch Prabhupada's legs start to bounce. You can see him under the table. And Prabhupada's just containing himself from ripping into this guy. Because the man's saying, oh, it doesn't matter, animals don't have soul, they're lesser animals, and he's just, the whole thing. Cardinal Danilou was found, I don't know whether it was several months or several years after Prabhupada met with him, dead of a heart attack on the steps of a brothel in Paris. That's how Cardinal Danilou left his body. And you know what it means? It means he died inside and they dragged him on the steps to save him some dignity. Oh, he was walking by and dropped dead of a heart attack. No. So Prabhupada, just, what kind of, gay priests, gay marriages, Prabhupada sailed into those things. He sailed into the professors, What is it? Oh, it is not knowing God, it is the pursuit. We don't know God. There's that when Prabhupada meets with all those professors in the L.A. garden, Prabhupada says to Subdhammadar, if someone is teaching and doesn't know, what are they? Oh, he's a cheater, Prabhupada, cheater. Then Prabhupada says, my disciple is calling you a cheater. You know, Prabhupada presents himself as neutral, well, and they become completely defensive. So only Stilson Judah, who became our friend, Stilson Judah, from the UC Berkeley, says, actually, you have a point, Swami. Way to go, Stilson, to abandon the sinking boat of his fellow professorial colleagues. Parents, Prabhupada, what is the meaning of a parent? Oh, I'm loving him, I've nursed him, I taught him how to brush the teeth and cross the corner, and I got a college fund for him, and my little poopsie, I took perfect care of him, changed his diapers. What's the failure? One cannot become a guru, one cannot become a teacher, one cannot become a parent, one cannot become a leader unless you know how to deliver your charge from the cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, you're just prolonging their misery. You just put them on another round through the meat grinder. It's not a parent. Sorry to say. It's well-intended, but foolish. So Prabhupada goes out, even disciples. What is the essence of the word disciple? Discipline. I was sitting in Prabhupada's room. The number of actually outside. Prabhupada was sitting outside in New Vrindavan. They moved Prabhupada's Vyasasan outside. Prabhupada was sitting out. It's beautiful. It's spring or summer, it's setting, beautiful scenery, all the devotees, Prabhupada sitting on a beautiful Vyasa. You can see the pictures. It's that yellow with the brown, wood. Advaita, the former press guy, speaking the minds of many of us. Oh, Prabhupada, when I took my vows, I was a young man, I was single, it seemed so easy, and then over time, now I'm married, or, whatever it is, and, it's not so easy to... Prabhupada cut him right off. Prabhupada slammed his hand down on the desk and said, then why did you promise? You should never have promised. Prabhupada said, only an animal cannot keep its promise. I mean, you can't get heavier than that. Boy, that was the end of that conversation. Dead silence, and somebody, from the... So... Prabhupada went after everybody, wherever there was, and, why? Why does it matter? Prabhupada just a mean old man who wanted to vent. The devotees are just arrogant. It's our team, and you're wrong. We're going to punch you in the nose and call you Avajante Mamudha. Why does it matter? Shanti, Shanti. Take a vow of silence. Why does it matter that we get upset? Is it some personal ego thing, our team versus your team? There's the yellow Buddhists, they wear yellow kind of mustard-colored cloth in Myanmar, in Burma. And there's other kind of ochre, it's kind of a purple color, brownish purple. And they're always going at each other, hammer and tong. Whatever it is, so many issues. You didn't ring the bell 3 times, you ring the bell. Somebody sent me a cartoon. It's a lady, a female nun, Buddhist nun, and a male Buddhist nun, and they're married. And they're both, by their face, you can tell they're just both really agitated. And the caption is, when Buddhist monks marry, and the woman is thinking, she's saying to the man, the depth of your wrongness is unknowable. So who knows what they were? They fight over so many things, I mean, the Christians fight over so many things. Hindus fight, There's so many different things. So why do devotees, are we just on that same material kanista platform? Why does it matter? Why does it matter when Krishna's devotees are blasphemed? Hey, they're our brothers, and you've offended them, so pop you in the nose. Krishna's offended. Or we love Krishnas, and you've offended someone we love, pop them in the nose, or cut out their tongue. Why does it matter? Help me out here. Are we just arrogant? Huh? Okay, so I can go kill a bunch of abortion doctors because I'm a medium of Krishna's mercy? Why does it matter? Oh, we're saving them from offense? There's a deeper reason than that. They're cheating people. Prabhupada says if you see a blind man walking into the street, do you say, oh, it's his problem, I'm not going to get involved? Is that a very good thing? What does violence mean as described in Bhagavad Gita? What is the definition of violence? Arjuna was violent on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. To impede or misdirect the progress of the living entities, as Dravida Prabhu said. That's violence. If you, like, here's a safe path, and you sometimes they change all the signs. You ever been there? Drunks love to do this, change the sign. So suppose it's a one-way street, and you just turn the arrow the other way. What happens? People head on. What is it? The light at the end of the tunnel? Is the train coming at you? I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the devotees, Hare Krishna, out of care, out of concern, out of affection, we have a deep sense of duty. What is Prabhupada's last line in this purport? It's a fantastic line. And let us all wear it around our neck as a garland. Although a devotee maintains an attitude of meekness and gentleness, it is a great fault on his part if he remains silent when the Lord and his devotees are blasphemed. If we do not help people find the right path, by example, by giving them Krishna consciousness, by giving them the holy name, if we sit here in this building ringing bells and shaking our fists at the fools and rascals, then we are just it is a great fault. Rather, we should feel burning compassion and go out and help these people who are misdirected and are suffering like anything. What is the curse that the butcher got? 4 different things. Die immediately for the prince, live a long time for the prince. For the yogi, jnani, tapasi, die immediately. For the devotee, live or die, because whether the devotee lives or dies, he's happy. But what was the butcher told? Don't live, don't die. Why? I live in this apartment building. They're all drag home drunk. Yesterday, this guy, and he's, ordinarily a nice guy. So he's been partying for so-called not Sankirtan party. But what kind of when did it start? When was 4th of July? Huh? Tuesday? Thursday. So he was Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and his body just wouldn't hold up. He was literally passed out at the bottom of the stairs, couldn't make it up the stairs. We shared the staircase with his pants on backwards in his own vomit. Yeah. I said, Grant, what happened to you? Oh, so I, woke him up and helped him stumble into his apartment, when I went back after japa, But this is our duty, and if we don't do it, if we just sit comfortably, because we got a great life. No anxiety, depend on Krishna. Krishna's a kind master. Excellent prasadam, beautiful building. A nice, beautiful room. Friendly devotees. We have a boss, get to work. We're not chasing after some, Botox because a girl rejected us because everything's starting to sag. We don't have to worry about a comb over or dyeing our hair, standing on the scale, sucking in our stomach, hoping we'll weigh less because we got a pot belly. There's just so many petty things. There's always a rock in the shoe. Misery is caused by other living entities. Misery is caused by the mind and body. Misery is caused by the material nature. But we're freed from all that. But if we don't feel deep compassion for averting the suicidal course of society, individually and collectively, then as Prabhupada says there, it's a great fault on the part of us. Okay. Do I ladle enough transcendental guilt to light a fire under you? That we should go out and distribute books. We should go out and give the holy name. We should go out and give prasadam. Stretch outside of our comfort zone and help these people. Okay, because that is what the Brahmins in this pastime have done. And they're praised and remembered in the Bhagavatam eternally for that compassion for the suffering conditioned souls. Don't let them go in the wrong direction. Okay, we can end there? Hare Krishna. All glories to Brahma.